Hello everyone and welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Paranormal Living with me, your host, Jared Wall. So in today's episode we will be talking, of course, all things paranormal, the latest news from Paranormal Living, a very, very exciting announcement which I can't wait to tell you about, and of course our main topic today, which is all about the Pendle Witches. So I hope everyone is okay. Welcome, of course, to our new listeners as well. The podcast is going from strength to strength, so thank you everybody for all your downloads and all your messages, and I'm glad you're all enjoying it. And if there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about in the show, or any subjects you have in mind or would like to come on, please do get in contact with us. You can get us on Facebook, Paranormal Living, Twitter, paranormallive20. You can get us on email, paranormallivingpodcast@gmail.com, and of course TikTok, which is Paranormal Living. But all the links to our social medias and everything is in the description below. So I have quite a cool little episode for you today. We will be talking about the Pendle Witches. This is a subject which has interested me for many, many years. You know, when I was younger, buying all the paranormal books, and of course living near Pendle myself. This is one of the most famous stories coming from around my area. Everybody knows about the Pendle Witches. Of course, there's been numerous documentaries made about the Pendle Witches. Many programs and investigations have happened around Pendle, where the witches were based. It's such a fascinating subject to talk about. So I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on the Pendle Witches and the story? You know, we have covered the Salem Witch Trials in the past. You know, have you ever been up to Pendle, done an investigation there, or just been around to some of the iconic locations around Pendle? You know, please let me know. Please do get in contact with us and let us know your thoughts. So before we do get into our main topic today, remember everybody, April the 11th, we will be live from the Ancient Ramming. That is a week on Sunday at 8 p.m. GMT time, 10 p.m. GMT, and of course midnight. We will be live streaming from there on our Facebook, Paranormal Living, and of course YouTube, Paranormal Living TV. You know, I really can't wait for this investigation. You know, we've been waiting so long to be able to do it, and you know, it's recorded as one of the most haunted buildings in the UK, and the amount of activity, what's happened there, from John Humphreys, who's unfortunately passed away now, but while he was living there, and of course so many investigators have been there and had so many experiences. I really, really can't wait, and I really hope you join us for that. But we do also have some very, very exciting news coming from Paranormal Living for each and every one of you. We are now sponsored by Paranormal Technology Paratech. They are based in Northern Ireland. They are paranormal equipment specialists, builders and designers. They are absolutely fantastic. I've just bought quite a bit of equipment from them recently for our upcoming investigations. And the stuff, ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great price and absolutely fantastic equipment. As many of you know, you go on eBay, Amazon, online bidding sites. As soon as you type paranormal next to a piece of equipment, it doubles in price, triples in price. And Mark is not about that. It's all about having an experience and making things affordable for people. So please do check him out, everybody. Mark is a fantastic guy. For those who may have seen, I did an unboxing on my Facebook page and YouTube, which is on there if you want to take a look at some of the stuff we got. We got a music box. We got quite a few trigger objects, lights, REM pods, the lasers. We got some torches, and again, it's fantastic equipment. So please do check them out. Paranormal Technology Paratech. We have more exciting news for you today as well. So on Saturday, the 17th of April, 2 weeks on Saturday, we will be live from Marlow Lodge Hotel here in Blackpool, where we are based, Paranormal Living. And this hotel, I've been a few times. After show parties, Martin, the owner, comes to watch me sing when I do perform. So we normally go back to the hotel and have a catch up and everything. And we've had quite a few experiences being there. One of the places where a lot of the staff get freaked out is the kitchen. The feeling of someone watching you, being behind you, that happens, you know, doors slamming by themselves. Martin's had quite a few experiences with the hotel. And, you know, myself personally, I've seen shadows there and things knocking over from the bar when there's nobody stood there. So that's what I'm going to tell you about there. But please do check it out on the 17th of April, 8 p.m, 10 p.m, midnight again, all GMT time, of course. And we will be streaming, obviously, on Facebook and YouTube. But please do come along. We have some fantastic experiments planned for both videos, and we now have this equipment from Paranormal Technology. It is going to be fantastic, so I do hope you can join us. It is now time for our main topic, of course. This is the story of the Pendle Witches. The trials of the Pendle Witches in 1612 are among the most famous witch trials in English history, and some of the best recorded of the 17th century. The 12 accused lived in the area surrounding Pendle Hill in Lancashire, and were charged with the murders of 10 people by the use of witchcraft. All but 2 were tried at Lancaster courts on the 18th and 19th of August 1612, along with the Salisbury witches and others, which are best known as the Lancashire Witch Trials. One was tried at York Courts on the 27th of July 1612, and another died in prison. Of the 11 who went to trial, 9 women and 2 men were found guilty and executed by hanging. 1 was found not guilty. 6 of the Pendle Witches came from one of 2 families. Each at the time were headed by a woman in her 80s, Elizabeth Southerns, aka Demdike, her daughter Elizabeth Device, and her grandchildren James and Alison Device, Anne Whittle, aka Chattox, and her daughter Anne Redfern. The others accused were Jane Bullock, her son John Bullock, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, Alice Gray, and Janet Preston. The outbreaks of witchcraft in and around Pendle may demonstrate the extent to which people could make a living by posing as witches. Many of the allegations resulted from accusations that members of the Demdike and Chattox families made against each other, perhaps because they were in competition, both trying to earn a living from healing, begging, and extortion. The first story to come out about the witches was of Demdike's granddaughter, Alison Device, who was on her way to Trawden Forest. There she encountered John Law, a peddler from Halifax, and asked him for some pins. 17th century metal pins were handmade and relatively expensive, but they were frequently needed for magical purposes, such as healing, particularly for treating warts, divination, and for love magic, which may have been why Alison was so keen to get hold of them, and Law, who was so reluctant to sell them to her. Whether she meant to buy them, as she claimed, and Law refused to undo his pact for a small transition, or whether she had no money and was begging for them, as Law's son Abraham claimed, it is unclear. A few minutes after their encounter, Alison saw Law stumble and fall. Perhaps he had suffered a stroke. He managed to regain to his feet and reach a nearby inn. Initially, Law made no accusations against Alison, but she is convinced by her own powers. When Abraham Law took her to visit his father a few days after the incident, she reportedly confessed and asked for his forgiveness. Alison Device, her mother Elizabeth, and her brother James were summoned to appear before Roger Newell, who was a High Sheriff of Lancashire and lived near Fence. He was a well-respected member of the community and was 60 years old. On the 30th of March 1612, Alison confessed under torture that she had sold her soul to the devil, and that she had told him to lame John Law after he called her a thief. Her brother James stated that his sister had also confessed to bewitching a local child. Elizabeth was more reserved, admitting only that her mother Demdike had a mark on her body, something that many, including Roger Newell, would have regarded as being left by the devil after he had sucked her blood. When they were questioned about Anne Whittle, aka Chattox, the matriarch of the other family, reportedly involved in witchcraft in and around Pendle, Alison perhaps saw an opportunity to get revenge. There may have been bad blood between the two families, possibly dating back to 1601, when a member of the Chattox family broke into Malkin Tower and stole goods worth about £1, equivalent to about £117 as of today. Alison accused Chattox of murdering 4 men by witchcraft and also killing her father, John Device, who had died in 1601. She claimed that her father had been so frightened of old Chattox that he had agreed to give her £8 of oatmeal each year in return for the promise not to hurt his family. The meal was handed over annually until the year before John's death. On his deathbed, John claimed that his sickness had been caused by Chattox because they had not been paid for protection. On the 2nd of April 1612, Demdike, Chattox and Chattox's daughter Anne Redfern were summoned to appear before Roger Newell. Both Demdike and Chattox were then blind and in their 80s, and both provided Newell with damaging confessions. Demdike claimed that she had given her soul to the devil 20 years previously, and Chattox claimed that she had given her soul to a thing like a Christian man, on his promise that she would not lack anything and would get any revenge she desired, although Anne Redfern had made no confession, although Demdike said that she had seen her making clay figures. Margaret Crook, a witness, claimed that her brother had fell sick and died after having a disagreement with Redfern, and this had been frequently blamed for causing his illness. Based on the evidence and confessions he obtained, Roger Nowell committed Demdike, Chattox, Anne Redfern and Alison Device to Lancaster Gaol to be tried for causing harm by witchcraft. The committal and subsequent trial of the four women might have been the end of the matter had it not been for a meeting organised by Elizabeth Device at Malkin Tower, home of the Demdikes, held on Good Friday, 10th of April 1612. To feed the party, James Device stole a neighbour's sheep. Friends and others were sympathetic to the family that attended, but when word reached to Roger Newell, he decided to investigate. On the 27th of April 1612, an inquiry was held before Newell and another magistrate, Nicholas Bannister, to determine the purpose of the meeting at Malkin Tower, who had attended, and what happened. As a result of the inquiry, 8 more people were accused of witchcraft and committed for trial: Elizabeth Device, James Device, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, John Bullock, Jane Bullock, Alice Gray, and Janet Preston. Janet Preston lived across the border in Yorkshire, and she was sent to trial at York. The others were sent to Lancaster Gaol to join the already 4 imprisoned there. The Pendle Witches were tried in a group that also included the Salisbury Witches, Jane Southworth, Janet Brearley, and Ellen Brearley. The charges against them included child murder and cannibalism. Margaret Pearson, the so-called Padiham Witch, who was facing her 3rd trial for witchcraft, this time for killing a horse. Last to join them was Isabel Robbe from Windle, accused of using witchcraft to cause sickness. Some of the accused Pendle Witches, such as Alison, seemed to genuinely believe in their guilt, but others protested their innocence to the end. Janet Preston was the first to be tried at York. She was charged with the murder by witchcraft of a local landowner, to which she pleaded not guilty. She had already appeared before Bromley in 1611, accused of murdering a child by witchcraft, but had been found not guilty. According to the statement made to Roger Nowell by James Device on the 27th of April, Janet had attended Malkin Tower to seek help with the murder. She was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. Her execution took place on the 27th of July at Naversmere, the present site of the York Racecourse. All the other accused lived in Lancashire, so they were sent to Lancaster for trial, where the judges were once again Altman and Bromley. The prosecutor, Roger Nowell, who had been responsible for collecting various statements and confessions from the accused. 9-year-old Janet Device was a key witness for the prosecution. This is something that was not permitted in many other 17th century criminal trials. However, King James had made a case for suspending the normal rules of evidence for witchcraft trials. As well as identifying those who were attending Malkin Tower, Janet also gave evidence against her mother, brother, and sister. 9 of the accused, Alison, Elizabeth, and James Device, Anne Whittle, Anne Redfern, Alice Nutter, Catherine Hewitt, and John and Jane Bullock. They were all found guilty during the 2-day trial and hanged at Gallows Hill on the 20th of August 1612. Elizabeth Southerns died while awaiting trial. Only one of the accused, Alice Gray, was found not guilty. On the 18th of August, Anne Whittle, aka Chattox, was accused of the murder of Robert Nutter. She pleaded not guilty, but the confession she had made to Roger Nowell, likely under torture, was read out in court, and evidence against her was presented by James Robinson, who had lived with the Chattox family 20 years earlier. He claimed to remember that Nutter had accused Chattox of turning his beer sour, and she was commonly believed to be a witch. Chattox brought down and admitted her guilt, calling on God for forgiveness and the judges to be merciful to her daughter, Anne Redfern. Elizabeth Device was charged with the murders of James and John Robinson, together with Alice Nutter and Demdike. The main witness against Device was her daughter, Janet. When Janet was brought into the courtroom and asked to stand up and give evidence against her mother, Elizabeth began to curse and scream at her daughter, forcing the judges to have her removed from the courtroom before the evidence could be heard. Janet was then placed on a table and stated that she believed her mother had been a witch for 3 or 4 years. Janet also claimed that her mother had a familiar called Ball, who appeared in the shape of a brown dog. Familiars were believed to be supernatural entities that would assist witches into practicing their magic. Janet claimed to have witnessed conversations between Ball and her mother, in which Ball had been asked to help with various murders. James Device also gave evidence against his mother. He claimed he had seen his mother making a clear figure of one of her victims, John Robinson. Elizabeth Device was found guilty. James Device pleaded not guilty to the murders by witchcraft. However, he, like Chattox, had made a confession to Norwell, which was read in court. That, and the evidence presented against him by his sister Janet, who said that she had seen her brother asking a black dog he had conjured up to help kill, was sufficient to persuade the jury to find him guilty. On the 19th of August, it was Anne Redfern's first appearance in court. She was charged with the murder of Robert Nutter. However, the evidence against her was considered unsatisfactory and she was acquitted. But she was not so fortunate the following day, when she faced her second trial for the murder of Robert Nutter's father, Christopher, to which she pleaded not guilty. Demdike's statement to Roger Norwell, which accused Anne of making clear figures of the Nutter family, was read out in court. Witnesses were called to testify that Anne was a witch, more dangerous than her mother, but she refused to admit her guilt and had given no evidence against the other accused. It was then stated Anne Redfern was found guilty. Jane Bullock and her son John, both from Newchurch in Pendle, were accused and found guilty of murder by witchcraft. Both denied that they had attended the meeting at Malkin Tower, but Janice Device identified Jane as having been one of those present, and John, who had turned up with the stolen sheep, the centrepiece of the Good Friday meeting at Demdike's home. Alice Nutter was unusual among the accused in being comparatively wealthy, the widow of a yeoman farmer. She had made no statement either before or during her trial, except to enter her plea of not guilty of murder by witchcraft. The only evidence against Alice seems to be that James Device claims that Demdike told him of the murder, and Janet Device, in her statement, said that Alice had been present at the Malkin Tower meeting. Alice was then found guilty. Catherine Hewitt was charged and found guilty of the murder of Anne Folds. According to the evidence given by James Device, both Hewitt and Alice Gray told the others at the meeting that they had killed a child from Colne, Anne Folds. Janet Device also picked Catherine out of the lineup and confirmed her attendance at the Malkin Tower meeting. Alison Device, whose encounter with John Law had triggered the events leading up to the trials, was charged with causing harm by witchcraft. Uniquely among the accused, Alison was confronted in court by John Law. She seemed to have genuinely believed in her own guilt. When Law was brought into court, Alison fell to her knees in tears and confessed. She was found guilty. Alison, along with the remaining witches, were hanged at Lancaster Gallows on the 20th of August, 1612. There we are. That is the story of the Pendle Witches. I do hope you enjoyed that, everybody. Quite an in-depth look into what happened there at the trials and sort of the lead up to that. The story does go on a bit longer, but I did try to cut it down as much as possible. We are hoping, like I mentioned at the beginning, before the topic started, that we are hoping to get there to Pendle Hill and the surrounding areas and the farmhouses and things to do a paranormal investigation, of course. With regards to Malkin Tower, not long after the witches were hanged, it was demolished, and nobody now knows where it stood. People have ideas, but it's obviously they're unsure. But I think there's about 4 plots of land where they believe it might have stood, including where there is 2 farmhouses now, which are currently occupied by people. And one of the farmhouses was built, I think it was about 50 years after the trials. And I do know they have had a lot of activity in the farmhouse recently. And it would be fantastic to be able to get into one of them, to do an investigation and see if we can contact the ladies. And they do say a lot about Pendle. For those who haven't been, there is a very majestic feel about the place. And they always say that part of Pendle stays with you as well. So it's definitely somewhere, as I mentioned, on the hit list. So what I would like to know from you lot, everybody listening out there, what did you think about the trials? What are your thoughts about what happened to the ladies and the 2 gentlemen, of course? Do you think they were witches, or do you think things were misconstrued and sort of blown out of proportion? One of the things what did happen after the trials, of course, Janet, who was the youngest, who obviously stood against them in court, was then tried for witchcraft herself. I think it was about 10, 20 years later, and was found guilty and hanged at Lancaster as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the Pendle Witches and what happened. So do get in contact with us, paranormallivingpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, all the links and everything to our social media is in the description below. So please do get in contact and let me know. One of the things I'm interested in trying to find is, of course, the notes from the trial, which have all been saved. There is a book out there, so I believe, where you can get a copy to be able to read this and read exactly word for word what happened in each trial and how they looked, and full description of everything. So that is something definitely to get hold of and have a look into as well. And hopefully, if we can get that sorted, be able to share that with you, of course. So a few things just before I do let you all go, everybody. Again, thank you very much for tuning in to the podcast this week. Of course, we are sponsored by Paranormal Technology, Paratech, based in Northern Ireland. Absolutely fantastic company where you can get all your paranormal equipment. They are paranormal specialists, builders and designers of equipment. Top quality equipment for a reasonable price. That's what it's all about with them. It's about having an experience. As I mentioned earlier, many of you know, you type paranormal next to a piece of equipment, it doubles in price. It's not about that with them. So please do check them out, everybody. Paranormal Technology, Paratech, on Facebook. Like I say, they are based in Northern Ireland. And Mark, who runs the company, is an absolutely fantastic guy. And he will look after you. So shout out to them, of course. And don't forget, everybody, on the 11th of April, we will be live at 8 p.m, 10 p.m, and midnight at GMT time at the Ancient Ramin. So please do get us on Facebook, Paranormal Living, and YouTube, Paranormal Living TV, of course. And then the following Saturday, in for a treat, we will be live from Marlow Lodge here in Blackpool, where we are based. Again, we will be live from 8 p.m, 10 p.m, and midnight, GMT time. We have some fantastic things planned and fantastic experiments to be able to do for you. And of course, using our new equipment from Paranormal Technology, which I'm really excited for. We will also be joined by Denise on the live vigils as well, through the streaming service. So if you do have any questions for her, please do pop them in the comments section, and she will be doing a little walkthrough with us live on the show, and seeing what she picks up herself, and of course what I feel and sense around us as well. And of course, we will be filming throughout the evening as well, so then we can release episode 1 and episode 2 of Paranormal Living TV for you as a whole hour episode. So there is so much to look forward to, everybody. And like I say, if you would like to come on the podcast, share your stories with me, your experiences, please do get in contact with us, like you say, paranormallivingpodcast@gmail.com, or any of the social medias in the description below. Also, before I do forget, don't forget, on Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. GMT time, we will be live on Facebook and YouTube for episode 3 of Paranormal Tuesdays, which is our brand new episodic show. We are running weekly. It's been fantastic so far, and we've had some great comments and great stories shared with us. So please do come on, everybody, and be involved with Paranormal Tuesdays. If not, we will see you, of course, at the Ancient Ramin. Take care, everybody. Love and light. Adios.